I'm Cynthia James, and this network is about changing lives one woman at a time.
Hello, and welcome to Women Awakening. I'm your host, Cynthia James, and every time I do an interview, I'm excited because I get to introduce you to extraordinary women. And when I say extraordinary, they're ordinary just like you and me, but they're doing extraordinary things because something happened where they decided to take charge in their lives and to make a difference on the planet. I really think this is the time for women to emerge, to bring our natural state of being, our loving and our care and our nurturing to the planet, to balance out some of the interesting things that we're seeing all over the planet. We do these every week. Spotify, iTunes, iHeart, Spreaker, Amazon. We're on video, YouTube. You can go to cynthiajames.net. You can also look up Women Awakening with Cynthia James on any of the platforms. Subscribe, share the videos. I guarantee you, every single woman will bring a spark to you that is unexpected. So I want to introduce you to Diane Luby Lane. She is the founder, CEO of global nonprofit GetLit, Words Ignite, whose mission is to amplify student engagement and literacy through the power of the spoken word. In 2024, GetLit was one of 300 organizations that received $1 million plus from the Mackenzie Scott Yield Foundation. There were like over 6,500 applicants. In 2023, GetLit was voted Nonprofit Organization of the Year. And in 2020 and 2023, the Library of Congress International Best Practice nominee for doing exemplary, innovative, and replicable work that promotes literacy. One of 15 in the world. In 2006, the GetLit in-school curricula has been taught in over 150 schools with over 100,000 graduates. Her book is called GetLit Rising from Simon & Schuster and is the winner of the 2016 Nautilus Award. Okay, Diane, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me, Cynthia.
I just want you all to know I was at a conference and Diane got up with one of her students and the entire audience was blown away.
Right.
And so I had to have her here because what she's doing is extraordinary. So I want to know, Diane, how did you grow up?
I grew up in Greenbrook, New Jersey, a very small town in the middle of New Jersey, an hour from the Jersey Shore and an hour from New York City, basically, with a single mom and a brother.
So were you smart in school?
Yes, I was always a voracious reader, but I was sort of like in the middle of the pack.
Okay. So where did GetLit come from?
It came from, it's a literacy program and it's a very rigorous academic program that's in a lot of schools, but it didn't come from me being a literacy giant at Harvard. It didn't come from that. It came from more like, when I was a sophomore in high school, I was at a Catholic high school called Immaculata. And one day I opened up some book and it said, "The glory of God is man fully alive." It was a quote by Goethe. And I thought, the glory of God is man fully alive. I had never heard that before. It was like, you've got to do this, you've got to do that, you've got to do this to be a good person. But the glory of God is man fully alive. It just clicked, like our purpose here is to be fully alive, versions of ourselves. And for me, that meant it ended up through the evolution of all the things I'd experienced, having a place for young people to be seen, to be loved, to be heard, all the things that I felt like weren't happening in the world. I wanted to kind of create that kind of space. And I loved poets. I loved books. I didn't love poets yet, but I loved books and just thought if I could connect young people to books, it maybe will save them as it saved me.
Well, that's incredible. Well, I want to talk about your program because the young woman that got up and did her poem, you know, I love Amanda Gorman and some of the other poets out here that are doing incredible things. But it's amazing to be sitting in an audience, and this is not a famous person that just gets up on a stage and speaks in a way that is heart touching. So talk to us about how the program works.
I mean, Amanda is very special, but that all young people are special and have something to share, and they start out. Imagine if Amanda didn't have a place to hear her or to share her words. We would never know. I mean, Amanda would probably find another way to get it out because she's an unstoppable force. But we know a lot of young people that share stories, and we're just blown away. So we go to schools, and it's in English class. It satisfies the standards for English in California and all over the country. And we say, claim your poem, claim your life. So we ask young people to select a classic or contemporary poem. We come in with like 200 options, and it changes every year. And we say, select the poem that hits your heart. So they have active choice. They choose the poem that speaks to them. They memorize it. They learn to perform it, which is a big deal because a lot of kids start out very shy. They don't want to get in front of people. They're like, I mean, you can barely hear them. It's a whisper. But they get to the point where they can share it, be heard. Now we know who you are by what poem you claimed. It's often teachers say, that's the first time I understood my student, because it tells you a lot by what poem someone claims. It's often very surprising. And then they respond with their own spoken word poems, with their own writing that they edit and edit and edit until it rises to the level of the classic that they memorize and perform as well.
Yeah, you had us do that at the conference. And I got to tell you, it was so interesting to watch how all these leaders got nervous.
I know. Cynthia, you know what's funny is that, and you were one of the winners because you're just that incredible, of course. But it was interesting because all week long, people would follow me like big leaders, and they'd say, can I read you my poem? Isn't it funny? It's like we're all just little kids that want to be heard, no matter who we are.
Absolutely. Well, and for anybody listening, it's one thing to go, oh, I love the way this was written. But then when somebody says, now bring your poet to the place, to the platform, you start doubting yourself.
Yeah.
So I want to know, so the kids go through, 100,000 graduates is a large number. What happens? What have you noticed has happened with these kids once they've gone through this program?
It's completely transformational, because for an individual, it's transformational. I'll give you an example. This is an example from a long time ago. In 2006, when I taught the program in Fairfax High School, there was a girl who had just arrived from China. She was really shy. She was worried about her ability to speak English. She was in a class, and I taught 2 classes back to back at Fairfax High School, which is a very LAUSD class with 40 kids. She's in one of the classes. She wrote her response, and she wrote a response about puppies, her new puppy. And then she had to and then she performed it. We did like a slam, a poetry slam. So period 3 performed for period 4, period 4 performed for period 3. And then each class voted for the winner. She was one of the winners. And she was so blown away. She wrote me this note afterwards, and she's like, because she was so new to this country. She didn't have any friends. She didn't have any community. She doubted her voice, her ability to communicate, but she was able to share this poem about puppies and was one of the winners from the other class. And then other people are coming up to you. Well, I have puppies. Well, So it can really change an individual, their entire experience of who they are. It can be that profound. Oh, I'm a poet. People even just stopping and just saying, wait, I'm a poet? It's like, yeah, you're a poet, So it can change an individual sense. It changes the culture of a classroom, because now we know who who we are. We have greater empathy and understanding and camaraderie. It changes the culture of a school, because now the poets are the cool kids. They're the spoken word kids that go to class and perform for different holidays and events at school. And then those poets now, over all these years, of course, our poets have gone from their schools or the culture of the school. They don't want to stop. So then they come to GetLit after school, and they're part of other programs. We had 29 GetLit poets from different high schools write a movie called Summertime that opened to Sundance. Yeah. And
Wow.
they have performed at the White House 3 years, and they were United Nations ambassadors. So it just grows and grows and grows, and it becomes world changing, really.
Well, what I love about this is that, we're living in times where kids feel so unsure, unsure, unsafe, unheard.
Yeah.
And to have a vehicle where there's no judgment really, it's just you get to express what
Mhm.
wants to come through you.
Yeah.
Talk to me about some of the events that you have that are outside of the school system.
Every year we host something this is our 13th year, called the Classic Slam. It's one of the largest slams in the nation. It's gigantic. It spans a week. So if you can imagine, in all these different high schools, they're having internal slams to get the top 6 poets. Then the whole school, or a bus of 50 kids will, let's see, it's called the Classic Slam, and it spans a week. So these schools will bus in. So you've got South LA, the West Side, the Valley, Central Valley coming in from like San Diego. You've got all these different worlds colliding at the LAT Theater, which is downtown Los Angeles. They all bus in, they get off the buses. You have the top 6 poets from each school representing their school. But the entourage are all other kids that have taken the class. So they're all there supporting. So it's a theater filled with over 1,000 kids, and it spans, a couple days. So then you have the top 4 teams, you have quarterfinals, and then you have semifinals. The top 4 teams go on to the finals, and the finals are at another theater. We've had it at the Orpheum, the Ace, the Wilshire, Ebell, and they get thousands of dollars worth of cash awards. We have luminary poets judging. Amanda Gorman judged one of our contests one year. Like, it's really exciting. They get a lot of press. We're going to film it and put it on PBS this year. So, it's really exciting for our kids. That's called the Classic Slam, and it's happening this year in April, but it happens every year. And we have events all year long. We have a poetic convergence that happens in the fall, where we train about 200 teachers and student leaders. There's a lot of opportunities for young people and teachers to get involved.
Well, I love this. So, do you feel that young people being able to express on this level can have impact on our culture?
Yes, I do. Even being a mom, I have 2 children who are in college, and um, yes, I mean, their thoughts about things, they're growing up in a different world than I grew up in. It just is. It's completely different. And to think that my knowledge and the adult knowledge, to disregard what they know, is absurd. They're living in real time in this emerging, changing planet. So to get their perspective on what's happening, the way they navigate technology, communication, it's completely different and very important. It's the way the whole world is going. So it really is an opportunity for them to learn from us. Older people, we have lived through things. We do have wisdom. We have opportunities that we can offer. And for us to live through them, what they're seeing in this world, which is a new world. We need each other so much. And I feel like being connected to young people has kept me young and open and available, and like a tree filled with sap, and not, not like old and cracking because of their life force.
Yeah, well, it's so beautiful. And as I was sitting in that audience, I thought, wow, I would have given anything as a kid
Mm-hmm.
to have had that kind of platform.
Yeah.
Now, clearly you're a visionary. I mean, because, there are other people who want to deal with literacy with kids, but I want to know, what do you think it is that propelled you to begin to take it to a national level far beyond what was happening in schools?
Well, they always say change comes from the fringe, from the side. And I definitely did not create this from inside the system. There's a great Alice Walker poem, I Know How Poems Are Made. Do you know that poem? I
I
Know How
do.
Poems Are Made.
Mhm.
Um, I wish I had it up to just read part of it, but it's basically like, she says, the leftover love. it's all the stuff that's left over, that energy. And she talks about other emotions besides love, but I know how poems are made. Anything that spills out of the too full cup, where do you put it? And for me, it was like so much that if I had to put it somewhere, and or it's painful. You know, if you have no place to put things like that, it's actually painful. And so for me to, I don't know, GetLit, I mean, I'm very lucky that the schools were there to receive it. And it's very difficult to get in. I got in because I toured with a poet named Jimmy Santiago Baca. I did a one-person show about books, and he's a world-renowned poet. And I played him in my own show, and he came to the show to watch. And he said, why don't you go on tour with me? And because of him, I met all these teachers in high schools, universities, gang prevention programs. And that opened the door. When we stopped touring, I said, can I come back and bring this idea that I have for this program? And they were like, okay. I mean, kids are going to hate it. They hate poetry. I mean, no one wanted it, you know, because they don't know what it is. And I didn't even know. Would kids like it? Would they want to claim a classic poem? Like, what does that even mean? Would they want to write their own poems? And they did. And that's why it worked. It was a real, like, in real life test. But I guess to say, you know, I just had so much love for kids, so much understanding of how I needed so much as a kid. And I just was brimming over with something I wanted to bring. And I feel like when people receive whatever you are offering, it's such a gift to the one that wants to offer it when people take it or want it. So I feel just lucky for that.
Yeah, but there was a vision driving you, and that vision, even if people didn't understand it, something about that energy, they caught it and
Yeah.
said yes. And so as it became successful, you started seeing it. Did you know how to open the doors to be at the White House or open for John Legend or at the Kennedy Center? Did you know what you were doing?
No, it's interesting that you say that, because right now I'm trying, we built an online platform, and right now we're working with schools in Denmark and Nigeria, and they're writing poems with kids in LA. It's extraordinary. It's the most game-changing literacy program in the world. And I say that humbly because there's really no competition. People are not investing their millions of dollars to solve teen loneliness and literacy, but this literally does. We've been here for 18 years. Like, it's exploded because it's so needed. And I don't know how to get it. And I don't know how to do the next step. And sometimes it's really frustrating because something is pouring through you and you don't know how to do it. And there's someone named Reverend Michael, who I love, Bernard Beckwith. He's a really great.
I studied with him.
Did you? Yeah, me too. Me too. I love him. And he says, you don't have to have the will. You just have to be willing. You don't have to know every next step. And he says, look back at the things that you've done. Did you know the next steps then? And when I think back, it's like, no, I had no idea. I didn't know the difference hardly between a nonprofit or a for-profit. Everything I've had to learn in real time. So I guess as that has emerged, hopefully the next steps will too.
Not a doubt in my mind. I mean, it's striking to be in your presence and to be in the energy of the vision. It's beautiful. I just want to know, so you've got 2 children that are in college, and are you married?
Yes.
Okay, so here you are with this family, with this big vision.
Yeah.
I want to know, how did you balance the relationship, the kids, and this vision? Yeah.
Do you know who Clarissa Pinkola Estes is? Women Who Run.
Of course, love it. Yeah, I have her. Women Who Run with the Rules is like on my bookcase.
Yeah. Well, I went to a workshop with her one time, and she said, and this woman, I was going to the workshops during the day, and then at night I was writing this book, and one of the other ladies was like mad at me because I wasn't going out to lunch dinner with those ladies. And, you know, and I was writing this book in the corner, and she's like, you better watch out because I didn't spend enough time with my children and it really hurt me. And she was like, in a lot of fear. And I called my husband and my daughter, who was like 6 at the time, and I'm like, I'm sorry, is it bad? Whatever. And I was so upset. And I went to Clarissa, and it was her break, and you're not supposed to talk to her during the break. And I said, Clarissa, this is what happened. And how did you do it? How did you become, she's a legend, and she's like counseling people during Columbine. And she had 3 children. I'm like, how'd you do it? And she said, you just take them with you. You take them with you. And so I was like, oh my God, it's really helped me. So my husband, he helps set up every single event. He's like, he hangs, he's like our logistics manager. And just in terms of, we do massive events, and he's hanging the posters from the ceiling and just doing all of that. And my son helped start the whole film department at GetLit. Now we have a massive media department, and now he's at NYU getting his master's in dramatic writing. So he's grown up with this. My daughter, she's more like, we've had poets sleeping on our couch forever. They've been part of our family. They're like it's just a very integrated world. And my daughter, she likes economics, but she likes doing the money and the business part of entertainment and sprawling creative places. So they all have found their place in this world. They've merged.
Well, it's beautiful. And your enthusiasm and excitement is contagious. How do people find you and your work?
Well, they go to getlit.org, and all of our programs are there. And I'm at Diane at getlit.org if they want to reach out to me directly. But yeah, we love partnering with people.
Yeah, well, I'm extraordinarily happy to know you and what you're doing. I ask the same last question of every guest on this show. This show is called Women Awakening. What do you think is the most important thing about women awakening on the planet in this moment?
I feel like it's really important that we step out of the shadows, because I feel like there's not enough representation of women living their authentic lives. I mean, women are holding up their families, they're holding up their churches, they're cooking, they're the grandmas, they're providing so much love. We know the importance of women when we look around. I, as a female leader, when I look, in those dark moments where I'm trying to find something to hang on to, like I said, going to Clarissa, how do I do it? If I hadn't been there with her in her presence where she said, take them with you, I don't know what I would have done. So it's just important that we know that no matter what age we are, what level of education, leave all that judgment of ourselves behind and step out, because someone that's trying to birth the next version of themselves needs to see you, needs to know how you did it, needs to have that hope and that inspiration. So just that we know we're valuable and that we need to see each other.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more. I'm so honored to know you and to be a witness to you not only creating and delivering, but inviting others to do the same so that we can all make a difference on this planet. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me, Cynthia.
All right, ladies, I say the same thing at the end of each show with different words. You're a leader. You're a visionary. You are powerful. You are dynamic. You would not be on this planet if you weren't essential. So how about you deciding to step up and step out? Spread your wings. If you've been listening to this show for any length of time, you know that every woman has said, well, I started, but I didn't exactly know what I was doing, but I just moved. And that's the universe is saying the same thing to you. Just move and it will support you. Thank you so much for being here. I love you, and I'll see you next time.